Welcome, everybody. It's time for Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin, and man, do we have a show for you today. Got a lot going on, and we're going to do what we always do. I'm going to see who's out there. So off to my right, your left, let's see who's out there joining us today. We've got Amy from South Carolina. We've got Glenn. We've got CSS Railfan. We've got D'Angelo, Kevin, Mark, Shannon, Brady, Chris, Joseph. Got a full house here today. We got Scott, Michael, and Jake here says, Jim, howdy. So Jake here, I can't say that fast enough for you. We got Bob from North Jersey. And let's see, we've got Preston. So we got some great folks joining us here today on Train Tuesday. Can you believe August is almost over? We're pretty much towards the end. And if you've seen anything interesting this past month in the Athearn packet, hopefully you've gotten a chance to get down to your local dealer and place a pre-order. Now let's not forget those Amtrak units that we showed at the beginning of the month, those 50th anniversary ones. Last day to pre-order those is this coming Friday on the 27th. The F-59s. Now, one thing to remember with those F-59s, I just got word in from the developers that we're going to be running those for this pre-order, and they're going to be away for a little bit. So if you've been wanting an F-59, especially if you ordered the California cars or the Surfliner cars, you're going to want to order one of these up because it could be a little bit before you get to pre-order another one. So we'll talk a little bit about the F-59s later. And of course, the SD-38s. We're going to talk a little bit about those again for anybody that may have missed it in an earlier broadcast. And today it's all about Roundhouse. We've got Roundhouse products to show you today, plus some stuff that's it's going to be hitting your dealers here pretty soon. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's see who else is joining us today. Let's see. We've got Ted, Joseph, KC, Winona, Randall, and we've got Matthew hailing in from Minnesota. And Adam, Scott, a lot of Marks today, Gilbert, Michael, Terry, and Bob. So thanks for joining us. If you're just joining us, go ahead and put the hobby knife down, put yourself in a comfortable position, grab your beverage of your choice, and hold on. We're going to talk Roundhouse today. And so without further ado, let's talk about what we're offering for Roundhouse and everything we're going to show you here today. You have until Friday the 27th to pre-order. So let's start with something that might cool you down. I don't know about you guys, but it's hot here in central Illinois. So what better way to cool off than with some mechanical reefers? So now, once again, these are Roundhouse models. These are perfect for anybody that's just getting into the hobby, maybe you're a younger modeler, or if you're somebody that likes to do a lot of kit bashing, these are great models to start with. Now, many people might think, well, these Roundhouse models, they're not as nice as the Genesis, so they're ready to roll, and that's simply not true. They might not have as much finer detail, but they certainly have really nice crisp paint, metal wheels, nice couplers. You know, we hear a lot about some of the guys that have been doing this for a while. We've been hearing a lot about Blue Box. And, you know, these are even better than Blue Box. I mean, first of all, they don't come with horn hook couplers. They come with actual knuckle couplers that are compatible with various different types of knuckler couplers out there, and metal wheel sets. That was something that when I first got into the hobby was one of the first things that I had to upgrade on any of my rolling stock. So here we've got, for you guys in the 1970s, got the Burlington Northern. The Burlington Northern, of course, this would be late 70s, but you could also run this into the early 80s. And if you want to go a little bit further back, what I like to say, not Burlington Northern Santa Fe, not Burlington Northern, just Burlington. Here we go with the CB&Q. This is appropriate for 1960s modelers. We haven't forgotten our friends north of us. We've got the Canadian Pacific and the really attractive script writing with the silver car. This is appropriate from 70s into the 80s. Going back to the CB&Q era, we've got this really cool Great Northern. So this would be 1960s. Now, one thing to keep in mind too, just because you have some Burlington Northern on your layout doesn't mean you're not going to see some Great Northern or CB&Q or Spokane, Portland, and Seattle. You'll definitely see some of those, just to name a few. So don't feel shy about thinking, man, I can't do a Great Northern if I'm modeling Burlington Northern. Now, certainly if you're doing anything more into the 1980s, they would be a little bit harder to find. Of course, we've got the Pacific Fruit Express and that highly visible orange, and the UP, Pacific Fruit Express. Now, these are both good for later 70s, early 80s, and these make great cars, again, for somebody that's just getting into the hobby. Obviously, younger folks would enjoy these. And one thing that I always want you to keep in mind too is operations is becoming more and more popular every day. And I think it's because of the sudden increase in folks that have limited space. So they're making small shelf layouts or small switching layouts. And these cars are perfect for that because while they look absolutely stunning with their factory paint, their metal wheel sets, their couplers, they don't have all the minute fine details that are easily broken off when you are doing operations. So if you've got a operation set up and you've got some friends coming over to operate those, you might want to put the Athearn Genesis and ready to roll somewhere else and bring out the Roundhouse. You can also use these to fill in the blanks. If you're doing a specific era or a specific set of industries, and the cars that you normally would get in the Genesis or ready to roll line aren't available, chances are we've got it in the Roundhouse line, and you can always bring those in as great substitutes. And then finally, we still have a lot of folks out there that like to do a lot of kit bashing. These are great for that. We'll talk about that a little bit further when we get to the Cabooses a little bit later. So those reefers, they're all available until this Friday, the 27th. You can pre-order those with your dealer. And we're also going to talk about some other Roundhouse products. It's been a while since we've run this next item. These are the 3-dome tank cars. This is one of the older Athearn offerings. These are all appropriate for, transition era, steam era. You don't really see these anymore. These are the old tank cars that actually have a frame. These were more common from the 1930s up until about the 50s. After about the 1960s, they slowly started disappearing from the landscape. But they're an interesting tank car, and we're offering these models again for pre-order until Friday the 27th. We've got some Jersey Railroad here for you guys on the Northeast. Had to do a DuPont car. Now this one is really interesting because it's lettered, even though it's a DuPont car, it's lettered for Bassett Furniture. And it says furniture finishes. You can just see it behind the ladder there. So if you've got a industry that does furniture, this would be perfect for it. Now, for you with taste of wine country, well, here you go. Ambrose Wine Company. And of course, we've got the DeSoto chemical coatings. These are great for those industries that have anything to do with any type of manufacturing that would have some type of chemical coating to it. So it's a great stand-in car for that. And then of Warner, another New Jersey car. So again, great cars for just about any industry on your layout. If you do Fremo HO, you can definitely use these for that as well. Again, I've said it before, we're going to slowly start going back out to the public. We're going to start doing train shows again. I know a lot of us like to set up modular type displays, whether it be Fremo or your own club standards. These are perfect for that because not only do they look good, they have great detail for a Roundhouse item. They don't have that minute fine detail that's easily lost when you're packing these up. And we know what it's like at a train show. It's Sunday afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. You've heard the guy on the PA say, you know, we're wrapping things up and you want to get home. So you tend to hurry up, and sometimes those minute details on your Genesis and even ready to roll items can break off as you're putting them back into their storage boxes. These are a lot easier to handle in a hurry. And you don't have to worry about younger modelers handling them because they don't have all those easy to break off parts. So again, those are available until for pre-order until Friday the 27th. So I'm looking at your comments too as we're going along, and let's see. Glenn's got a comment, and I'm going to put it up there because he's got a valid comment, but I want to address it. One says he would like to purchase them, but they're expensive compared to AccuRail. There's many other kits out there, and they're all quality kits. But you have to remember, when you buy a Roundhouse model, they're going to come with things that the kits do not have. And we just talked about it. It's just like the old blue box models from back in the day. When you got a blue box model, you got a weight, you got your pieces that made up the car, you got some horn hook couplers, and you got some plastic wheel sets. Most people, the first thing they would upgrade is the couplers. Now you figure there's a couple of bucks there in couplers. Then you would upgrade the wheels. You know, there's some money into the wheel sets. Then you're going to put some money into the weights, because remember, in the old days, those were not NMRA standard weight. And then last but not least, I've got some blue box models in my personal collection, and they're great. They're fun. It's nice to reminisce about the past. But when I hold up one of my blue box models compared to these modern Roundhouse models, the difference in the printing and the painting is just day and night. So you have to think about the cost that you have to put into those kits. Now, if you're a kit builder, there's nothing wrong with that. As long as you know going in that you're going to be putting in more time and money to get it up to a certain standard that most guys take for granted now. But Glenn, I appreciate you writing that in and letting us talk about it. Let's see, any other questions on the Roundhouse? Let's see. Nothing there. I'm scrolling through because last week I missed a few and I don't want to do that. Oh, Ramsey has got something that he'd like to say. And our developers would like to hear this. ST60M repair kits rock. Well, thank you, Ramsey. And I can tell you, our developers thank you too. Our lead developer, John, really put a lot of time and effort into this. And as a team, the whole Athearn team came together and put this together for you guys. Because again, we said it before, myself, John, Janik, Jack, a lot of the guys that we've had on the program, and a lot of guys that you don't even see, we're modelers too. And we want to make sure what you get, you're happy with. That's what really makes us happy, is when you enjoy the models that we get out to you. So thank you for that. All right. And Joseph, no, we haven't forgotten about the AC4400. Don't worry. We haven't. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next Roundhouse item. And we're going to talk cabooses. It's a good way to round out this month. This is the last item of the month. And we've got a little, I saw a comment out there saying, hey, we need more northeastern roads. I hear you. We do northeastern roads, and then the guys in the west are like, hey, we need more western roads. We'll get to you. Don't worry. We're working on it. The good thing is the Athearn team is made up from a pretty well-rounded group of guys from all over the United States. So guarantee you're going to see your road at some point. So starting out with these cabooses, these are the Eastern 4-window cabooses that we're offering. And this, again, this is based on an old blue box mold, but so much different than what they used to be. Again, with the metal wheel sets, the better couplers. And in some cases, like the CNW one that you see here, windows are plated over. That was something you had to do on your own back in the day. So we got this really nice Chicago Northwestern 1980s era, early 1980s. Well, there's a Northeastern road. Got some Conrail. Again, 1980s. This would be towards the end of, I would say probably about 79, 1980, based on the markings, based on the display. It's still got most of its windows. As the 80s progressed, a lot of railroads started plating over their cabooses, windows for safety reasons. But Conrail sure had a lot of these style of cabooses. A few guys in the South, we got the Louisville and Nashville. Pretty much stock caboose. You probably run this, 1960s era. Now, where did Conrail get their cabooses from? Well, they got them from a variety of places, but a lot of them came from Penn Central. And of course, Penn Central got them from a variety of places, mainly Pennsylvania Railroad. But we're offering the Penn Central in that jade green color that was popular with that railroad. This is mid-1970s. Here's another one for the Northeastern fans, the Reading. A lot of new guys call it the Reading. It's not the Reading, it's the Reading. It's the Reading Railroad. Really cool paint scheme. 1960s era. Got some windows plated over there a little bit on the car body. And who can forget Western Maryland and the circus paint scheme? Really sharp paint scheme. And again, we're looking at 1960s, just prior to the merger that made Chessie. So yeah, great little caboose models. And I can say from experience, I have one of these from probably close to 30 years ago. It's a blue box model. And all the work that I had to do to it is already done on these now. These have been updated. They are based on the blue box, but they have been updated. And the detail on these is so much better. Some of the things that we've done to these cabooses to bring them up to the 21st century is great. So don't think that Roundhouse is just a bargain basement setup. They're really nice cars and they really present well. And again, if you've got younger modelers that want to get into the hobby, what better way to introduce them into a fun hobby than with the Roundhouse brand? These are great models. And again, they're going to be available for pre-order until Friday the 27th. So I promised you too, we were going to talk a little bit about some locomotives again, because I know a lot of you guys may have missed this. We talked about the SD38s a couple of weeks ago. We also talked about the F59s, and I want to repeat, the F59s, if you bought Surfliner cars, you're going to need some motive power. So take notice of the F59s, because I'm not sure when we're going to re-release them again. And that came from the developers. So you're gonna, sometimes we'll do that. We'll run something and we'll let it go for a little bit. So if you want power for your Surfliner cars that you pre-ordered back in July, we're gonna wanna look at these F59s. So starting away, I'm gonna start with these SD38s. So here we have the Reading and Northern. Now, these are all, and what you guys may have missed, and I tried to put a little bit more detail into these. These are all locomotives that had previous owners. So these are really cool. Now, these are ready to roll. You have the option of DC or DCC with sound. But take, for example, Reading and Northern number 2000. This is a former Conrail unit. It has an M3 horn. It has a large fuel tank. This is based on a 2009 repaint, and it's got a website logo on the battery door, as you can see there. So keep this in mind. We're going to do another Reading and Northern. Look at how different it is. This one is a former DT&I, former Grand Trunk Western. This has a totally different horn. It has a P3 horn. It has the smaller fuel tank. It has a silver frame stripe and trucks, and it has a slightly different paint scheme, celebrating the 20 years of operation of the Reading and Northern, 1983 to 2003. So here, I'll just go back real quick. Here's the former Conrail unit, same railroad. Former Grand Trunk and Western. So even though it's ready to roll, you're getting a really good bargain in some of the details that the developers put into these. It would have been real easy just to change the paint scheme on both of these and put the same horns, the same fuel tank, things of that nature, but our developers aren't like that. They're a stickler for detail, and you get the benefit from that. Now, speaking of Grand Trunk, here's a full Grand Trunk repaint. It has the standard EMD exhaust stacks. It has a front small EMD style plow, and it's got the regular 81-inch nose. That was pretty standard with these when they were first introduced. Now, same railroad, but this is a patch job. And I'm sure you guys that know the Grand Trunk know what this was patched from. It's being a former DT&I. What the developers have done is they have faded that DT&I orange, and where the Grand Trunk and the road numbers are, they use a different shade of orange because that mimics exactly what they did back in 1986. When they need to put these into service and they weren't ready for a full-on corporate paint scheme. This one has a large Y-style spark arresters. It still has the original nose bell, and there's no plow. Check this out. This is for 2010. This isn't that long ago. The Bessemer. This one has a Leslie 3-chime horn. It's got some really neat painted effects to it. Front and rear ditch lights. Updated battery danger decals. The modern loop style coupler cut lever. We talked a little bit about that before. When the SD38 first came out, it had a standard cut lever, which was essentially just a bent rod. Starting at probably about the late 80s, early 90s, and becoming more prevalent into the 2000s, the modern loop style. If you look at the cut lever on the front or back of a pilot of a locomotive, you'll notice it looks like a square D. That's just a safety feature that they started building into these, and it's another detail that the developers put into this locomotive. Can-Do 2015. Former DMIR rather, short fuel tank, triple clasp brakes, M3 horn, has a Union Pacific style plow, and they're on both ends, not just the front. All-weather windows, ditch lights on both ends, and technically this one is classified as an SD38 AC. Pretty cool. Now, for you guys, lovers of the Connie, Big Blue, whatever you decide to call it, we've got Conrail. We've got the mid-1990s as it appeared. You remember the Q logo, the Conrail Q for quality. You've got the small EMD plow, the Leslie 3-chime horn. I know a lot of Conrail guys really love the sound of that horn. I got a treat for you here in a second. Sinclair antenna, rear brake wheel, triple clasp brakes. So again, 1990s Conrail. We have a lot of folks asking for 1990s Conrail. Here you go. Now, for you guys that are doing Norfolk Southern after Conrail was split between CSX and Norfolk Southern, check this out. Pretty cool. This one is a former Conrail unit, now Norfolk Southern. It's got the black patch with the white numbers, faded paint effect. It's still going to have a lot of the same details that the Conrail unit would have. There will be some additions. You've got a cab roof antenna. You've got the prime AC. The plows are gone. Plows were taken off. Here's another variation. And these are good. I forgot to mention, these are good for 2009 on up. This one is the white patch, black numbers, a little bit different. It's going to have faded paint effect. Again, a lot of the same details that the Conrail unit had. Some things have been added. This one actually does have a plow, but it's a small EMD plow. These are all based on actual units. The guys spend hours upon hours on the internet looking at books, talking with historical societies, talking to rail fans to come up with these. All right, I'm going to remove this, and I've got a treat for you guys. Janik, one of our developers at Athearn, said, hey, you know what? I found a really cool video that I think anybody that would like Conrail, Norfolk Southern SD38s, I think they'd like this. And I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of it for you. And it is on YouTube, so let's hope we don't have to watch an ad. So really cool video. If you want to see more of it, I won't show the whole video, but if you want to see more of it, this is a video that was put on by a channel called Central Penn Rail Productions, and it's a really cool video. There's some other stuff you don't see very often anymore. Some of these are older videos from about 10, 15 years ago, but really great stuff. If you want to check that out, again, it is Central Penn Rail Productions. So I had to throw that in there for you because, like I said, every now and then it's good to have a little treat to see what's to whet the appetite, if you will. Now I've got one more SD38 to show you. And we talked a little bit about DTNI, so it would only make sense that we would do a DTNI. Nope, we're having trouble with the stream here. Let's try that again. Sometimes it doesn't like it when I go between two screens. So again, with these SD38s that we're showing you, these are good for pre-order until Friday the 27th. And really impressed with all the amount of work the developers have done with these locomotives. They're not just a run-of-the-mill ready to roll. They're going to have quite a bit of detail in them. And just the differences between each locomotive, even within the actual railroad itself, is going to be worth it. All right, let's try that. So we talked about DTNI, and there you have it. Now, this one's really different. This is going to have a unique weathered version. You can kind of see it right above the D. That flaked peeling paint look, it's actually going to have that. It's going to have the large can style spark arresters and all weather windows. So any of these really cool SD38s are going to be available for pre-order until Friday the 27th. Now I wanted to show you these F59s again too, because like I said, they may be going away for a bit. Now, another thing too, for all you N-scale guys, we've got these in N-scale and we've got them in the ready to roll line. So everything I'm going to show you in F59s is available in both N-scale and HO, and with and without sound. That's both HO and N. So that's a cool feature in N to have that sound. We've got our standard Amtrak scheme, but check this next one out. We talked a little bit about this. This was a joint effort between Amtrak and BNSF, UP, Operation Lifesaver. Basically, you know, people forget that modern day locomotives, they don't emit sound like older locomotives or older pieces of equipment. They're actually pretty quiet. And so people would, you know, not the best of judgment, use railroad tracks as a walking path. And unfortunately, there were too many fatalities because of it. So this program here is just, you know, some awareness like, hey, you know, don't use the tracks as a shortcut. Don't trespass. It could be a very bad decision, and a decision that will affect more than just yourself. Amtrak California. Again, keep in mind, might not be around for a bit. So if I were you, if you've been needing some Amtrak power in either HO or N scale, now's the time to order. We also did some Metra stuff. Metra did do a CNW throwback style paint scheme. We also did, you know, what would happen if they did others, and it's part of our legendary liveries. So we've got the Milwaukee Road legendary livery. And of course, who could forget the Rock Island? So there you have it. These are available in both HO and N, and with and without sound. So great stuff. Now I'm seeing some comments. I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm looking at the comments and stuff, and I've been seeing one comment that keeps coming up. It's not really a question. It's almost a comment. And let's see if I can. Kevin seems to be the main guy asking it. He says, Jim, will we see open houses at the warehouse events? Now, for you younger guys that don't know exactly what Kevin's talking about, in the old days, Athearn would have these events, usually about once a year, once every couple of years, it depended. And they would literally open up the warehouse, and they had it was a festivities. It was a great time to come in and, you know, get some good deals and talk to the Athearn folks, things of that nature. And that was back quite a few years ago, and it's something we haven't done in a while. Now, specifically, Athearn doesn't have an open house like that, but our parent company, Horizon Hobby, does. And in the next few weeks, you'll hear a little bit more about it. We're having an event here in Central Illinois called RC Fest, but don't let that name fool you. Athearn will be there, as well as some other friends. And there's also some full-scale locomotive and rolling stock involved in this as well. So there'll be some more details coming in the next few weeks. But if you're in and around the Central Illinois area on Friday the 10th and Saturday the 11th of September, come on out and join us. Athearn will be there, as well as all the other families that make up Horizon. And it's a good time to get to see some of the other products that we have and try those products. Maybe some of you folks out there do other hobbies besides model railroading. It would be a good chance for you to come out and experience some of the different hobbies that we have available through Horizon. But like I said, Athearn's going to be there. We're going to have some a display. Of course, we're going to have some friends joining us as well. And not to mention, the Monticello Railway Museum is right next door to the event. So if you're a train guy and you've been asking about a open house like this is going to be a great time for you to come out and say hi to us, and not only that, but just get to see the Monticello Railway Museum, which is a great little gem of the Midwest. All right. Well, I'm going to finish up with just a few more things, and then we'll take a few more questions. I know we went a little bit longer today. I thank you for your patience, but we had just so much stuff to cover today. And, you know, like I was saying, Friday is the last day to do your pre-orders, which means that A, you have till Friday to do the pre-orders on anything that we've talked about today and this past month, and then B, it also means that Friday we're coming at you with some new stuff. So let's show you what's going to be at your dealers soon. If you pre-ordered these, you'll probably be getting a phone call sooner than later that these have arrived. Let me get that picture up. And if you've been on our social media, you've probably seen these already, but I'm going to throw them back up there again. And I'm a little biased as far as the subject material. So here are the GP38-2s. We announced these last summer. And we've got the Illinois Central Gulf and the the orange and white. And we've got the ICG in the later orange and gray. And I've also, when I posted this last Friday, and I had to, you know, if you look at the picture, I mean, nothing says Illinois Central more than a grain elevator behind it. So that's why I had to take that picture and post it on social media. And even though I'm from New England, I have a soft spot for IC, especially this era of IC. My apologies to all the GM&O fans out there, but I particularly remember this paint scheme from my youth. But a lot of people are asking, hey, this is great. The GP38-2s, they're going to be in stock soon. Hey, any pictures of the Mopac? And I thought, well, okay, give me a minute. You guys, just give me a minute. And I've got one in the studio with us today. We've got the GP38-2s, not only in the Mopac, but the TP&W, another Illinois line that's not too far from us. Now is owned, of course, by you know who. And don't worry, watch your social media and future Train Tuesdays. That RC Fest where Athearn will be set up, we'll be posting the details on that here shortly. So be watching for that. There'll be a link posted on social media here sooner than later with a link to check out the activities. So there it is. I mean, Missouri Pacific, that is just a great model. And of course, the TP&W. So what does that mean? If I'm showing these to you, that means that they are coming into stock soon. If you pre-ordered these, that means you should be getting a phone call from your dealer soon. If you didn't pre-order these, well, hopefully there's enough stock at your local hobby shop or online retailer to pick one up. But what I tell everybody and learn from my example is many times I'll see something and I think, yeah, I'll pre-order it later, or I'll just pick it up at the hobby shop. And 9 times out of 10, even my little dealer here in Central Illinois, all of the models that I'd like to buy are already spoken for because they're pre-orders. So just do yourself a favor. Just do the pre-order. It gives you time to get your inventory ready for those new arrivals of locomotives. I mean, technically, we're doing it no differently than what the prototypes did back in the day. So When your railroad's ready for new power or new rolling stock, just put in a pre-order and put that into the budget accordingly. And another secret tip is when you do bring it home and your significant other says, when did you get that? You can say, I've had this for at least a year. All right, with that, I'm going to take a couple of questions and then we will pull the pin on this episode. Let's see what we've got out there. Herc is asking for airplanes and automobiles, please. I'm going to assume you're talking about 1/87th scale and maybe 1/160th. We are looking into some things, so keep an eye on our social media. The developers are very busy. Let's see. Herc, I see your comment out there. That may be true depending on where you're at and specifically with the current situation with health. Don't be afraid to check out the online retailers as well. If you're not close to a standard brick and mortar hobby shop, feel free to go online. If you'd like to know of a hobby shop that we sell to, you can go to athearn.com and we've got some vendors out there that we use. Train shows are coming back too. So if you're more of somebody that would like to buy it in person, be sure to check out a local train show as they start to become more available in your area. Marvin, did I miss anything with the Genesis 2.0 AC 4400 CWs? No, you did not. We are working on getting some more information to you. We're probably going to have more information on that as we go into early 2022. Now, we'll sprinkle our news feed and our Train Tuesdays with more information just to let you know that we are working on it. And keep in mind, too, besides that AC 4400, we've got some other things that we're working on that we haven't told you yet. So the guys that work in development, it's like Area 51 back there. Let's see. I got time for one more question. Kevin's reminding everybody about the September announcement. You're going to see that this Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. A lot of good questions. I'm trying to find a question from somebody I haven't called out yet. Winona, that's a long question, but you know what? I'm going to put it up here. We'll finish the show with this question. It's a valid question. You were on an Athearn fan page, and there was a discussion of dummy locomotives. The original post was they were useless, a position that was quickly put down. However, there was also a contention that nobody makes them anymore, and I was wondering if this is true, or if Athearn, or anyone else for that matter, still makes them, or are they just hard to find? DCC rules. Thank you. So yeah, there's a great question, and we got to go back to the Wayback Machine for a little bit. Back in the old days when all railroads were DC, set up in blocks, things of that nature, it was much easier, to put it in simplified terms, it was much easier to have one locomotive that actually had the motor and electrical system in it with a dummy, whether it be a B unit or another locomotive that was identical to the one in front of it, just without any powertrain. Reason being is just the way the manufacturing was specifically back in that era, was if you were to put those two locomotives on the same piece of track and crack the throttle, inevitably one locomotive would be slightly faster or slower than the other. So coupled together, two powered units, they'd usually be fighting. Now with HO, that wasn't that big of a deal. When you got into the smaller scales, specifically N scale, it really became a problem. Flash forward to a few years later, when the manufacturing and the tolerances got better and DCC became more of a standard, DCC essentially took the powered locomotives and made them as powerful and as useful as what they are on the prototypes. You don't see dummy locomotives except for some few examples being used as steam generator cars or things of that nature on the prototype. All those locomotives are using their tractive effort to pull that train. Same thing with our modern DCC locomotives. Now, the nice thing about DCC is it allows us to make locomotives that are all powered, all DCC capable, and they can be speed matched. Once they're speed matched, they can work together in unison, much like they do in the full-scale prototype, and not have that fighting like they did back in the old days. So long story short, they're not exactly obsolete. There's plenty of folks out there that are still using the old block and toggle system with the DC, and that's fine. And fortunately, there are enough of the old dummy locomotives out there that they can be found pretty easily, either on online auction sites or train shows. But for the most part, most manufacturers, once DCC took over the lion's share of the market, most manufacturers now just make powered units, just because it makes more sense. And because with the DCC, you can speed match those locomotives, and you can also have a much bigger, more prototypical train. If you want to learn more about speed matching and other options, specifically with the Tsunami 2 decoders that are found in Genesis locomotives and other Athearn locomotives, go on over to the Soundtracks YouTube channel. George Bogatak has a great series of videos explaining the hows and whys in simple terms on how to program your locomotives to get the most out of them. And if you're new to DCC, it's a great starting point. Takes all the mythology of DCC out and makes it a lot easier. But want to thank you for that question. That's a great question, and thank you for asking that. And it's like with anything, the one constant in life is change. All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to pull the pin on this episode. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. I want everybody out there to be happy, be healthy, do some modeling, and don't forget, join me again Friday, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, as we talk about the September releases. Until then, have a great day, great week, and we'll see you on Friday. Take care.